the series, dear viewers. We'd like you to do an additional mitzvah every single day, and that's the mitzvah of Pidyon Shavuyim, the redeeming of captives. Of course, by now you know we are talking about none other than Jonathan Pollard, the Jewish American hero. As you know, he committed the crime of the century. He had the chutzpah. He had the audacity to save the lives of Jewish babies, children, women, and men from being massacred by the two-legged Arab mule, Islamo-fascist, predator, homicide, Islamo-fascists. He did that by giving classified Pentagon data to our ally Israel. When he went into prison for 30 years and now is serving out 5 years parole, he went in looking approximately as such. 33 years ago, approximately. And today, he looks more like as this. The real crime here, dear viewers, were bipartisan. Both the Democrats, the rats, and the Republican administrations, both, refused to pardon Jewish American hero Jonathan Pollard when Americans, Gentiles, spied for the former Soviet Union as an example. They did not receive 30 years to life. And then in additional, as he has received now 5 years of parole. And certainly, Americans that spied for the lethal enemies of the United States of America as the Soviet Union then, did not receive, as I already I'm reiterating that. But even those that were allies, countries that were friendly to the United States, and intelligence unauthorized was given to them, no one's spent 30 years plus in prison. In this case, Jonathan Pollard gave intelligence data pinpointing terrorist bases throughout the Middle East, saving Jewish lives, to an ally of the United States. And the only reason that he served this long and in a parole restricted status is because he's Jewish. And yes, both parties have been practicing the most heinous form of racism, anti-Semitism. What we want you to do, dear viewers, is to take out your writing paraphernalia. And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask you to contact the Presidential Comments Hotline. Indeed. Giving you now the numbers. And you're going to call these numbers daily between 10 and 2 p.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Presidential Comments Hotline, you're going to say that you're a registered voter and you're asking the President of the US of A to vacate the parole and pardon Jewish American hero Jonathan Pollard. He wants to leave the United States and go to the religious, historical, and national land of Israel. Oh, the number, 202-456-1414, 202-456-1414, 202-456-1414. Now, I'm going to give you an additional number, And this is going to be another mitzvah, all right? Another good deed, another good imperative for you to do. I'm going to give you the number of the switchboard on the house on Capitol Hill. You're going to contact all reps of both houses. You're going to obtain their phone numbers, their fax numbers, and their email. And you're going to tell them you want Jonathan Pollard, Jewish American hero, vacated his parole, and that the president should pardon him, and so that he may leave to Israel. His crime was, of course, you can tell them, the crime of the century. He had the audacity, the chutzpah, to save the lives of Jewish babies, infants, children, women, and men from being massacred by the two-legged Arab mule, Islamo-fascist, predator, homicide Islamists, by giving to Israel the data from the Pentagon that specified where all the terrorist bases are in the Middle East. The number is 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. Tell them you're a registered voter as well. Free Jonathan Pollard. Vacate his parole, pardon, and let him go where he wishes to go to make aliyah to Israel. Last but not least, to contact the president of Israel that he should nudge the president of the US of A to pardon Jewish American hero Jonathan Pollard. Dear viewers, the Democratic Party, or as we dub them, the Demo Rats, did not take to task the three blind mice, or we call them the three blind rats, three representatives, if you will, from the Bronx, Queens, Cortez, Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, and then the other one from Michigan, Rashida Tlaib. Nancy Pelosi once, just once, had a mild rebuke of Omar, but then she went ahead, Nancy Pelosi, the shikta from California, the witch of California, decided, and she's way up in age, as you know, placed her of all committees on the Foreign Relations Committee. Yeah. You don't put an avowed anti-Semite, an anti-Jewish state individual on a Foreign Relations Committee. No, that's unheard of, isn't it? Indeed. There she is. She's actually already what we call is the Walking Dead. Nancy Pelosi. She looks like already she's decomposing. Yamach Shema, may her name be eradicated. Dear viewers, this is the head of the Democratic Party. In 2017, there were members of the House that condemned one of the many numerous anti-Semitic condemnations of the UN against the Jewish state of Israel. Nancy Pelosi vetoed it in condemning the United Nations for continually making resolutions, anti-Semitic resolutions against the Jewish state. This is her. This is what awaits her. So now, dear viewers, we see the inclusiveness, the gender inclusiveness of anti-Semitism. It is not strictly a male-dominated disease. It's the most heinous form of racism is anti-Semitism. Now let's go to the number 2, a male. And the leader, the majority leader in Congress, or the House as they call it, his name is Steny Hoyer. And he has defended both Islamists, Taleb and Omar, saying that he did not, quote unquote, accept that they were anti-Semitic. And of course, the majority leader, who's a male, Steny Hoyer, is a uncircumcised pagan Gentile. Tui. Dear viewers, what's with the minority leader in the Senate? Yeah, another male. It's worse, yes, yet. Yes, it is. It's worse. Because not only is the minority leader in the Senate a male, but he's of Jewish descent. Descent. He's descending. And when he's descended entirely, he's going straight to a very hot place, dear viewers. There's no air conditioning there, I can assure you that. From a theological perspective, of course. And that's Schumer, the senator of New York. Actually, you didn't hear much of anything of those of the Jewish descent. Let's say, take New York. Since we're broadcasting out of New York, where was Slim Gerald Nadler? Where was he? Here he is. He can't control what goes into his mouth, and he can't control what goes out of his mouth. Look at that. Look at him. Can't control anything, can he? Look at that. That's Jerry Nadler. He has a huge mouth too. And I'm not just talking about because he's rather, shall we say, well endowed. He's got a big mouth. He attacks the president's office and the president himself. But when it comes to anti-Semitism, I can't say he's crawling under a rock, a slimy rock. It must be a huge boulder, a huge one. And by the way, this Humpty Dumpty, this Humpty Dumpty, he voted for the Iran deal. from that very hateful, racist Obama. The Iran deal allowed legally for Iran in X amount of years to legally acquire nuclear power, ballistic missiles. When they put the nuclear head on the ballistic missiles, they have openly said repeatedly, they're going to wipe Israel off the map of the world. 6.8 million Jews in Israel, dear viewers. Almost 7 million. Yeah. God forbid, hundreds of thousands would die immediately. Millions would die a very slow and painful death. But that makes no difference. I mean, we don't expect it from Gentiles to care. Look what the Gentiles did. The white Caucasian crackers in Europe. For 2,000 years, look at the Holocaust. 1.5 million Jewish babies, children, were tortured to death. And over 5 million women and children, regardless of age. Yeah, including senior citizens too. All ages and all both genders. There was a tiny bit of Jewish collaborators. They were known as Judenrat Kapos. They were in the ghettos, some and maybe in some of the camps as well. Jewish appointed councils, and then they had their euphemistically called Jewish police, but they were actually called kapos. They beat fellow Jews onto the cattle cars, and they did all kinds of things horrific. This is what Jerry Nadler would have been. I would like very much if we had the wherewithal, the supernatural power, to relocate him and some of his Jewish descent colleagues into that era, into a concentration camp, into the Warsaw Ghetto and others places. I wonder if he would be able to lose, most of his weight over there and let a good Jewish person survive. It's him. It's Elliot Engel, also of New York, a congressman from the Bronx. And you have also from the Long Island, you have Netta Lowey. At least we're inclusive. We have a Jewish female. You have another Jewish female Democrat. Netta Lowey didn't say a word, not a word, about all the anti-Semitism that's going on in Congress, let alone the anti-Semitism that's roaming around, let's say, in most of the universities here in the United States of America. And of course you have in Florida, you have Debbie Wasserman, Schultz. These were all great supporters of the greatest anti-Semite in the White House that was since Jimmy Carter, the white Caucasian, and FDR, the white Caucasian, and then you had Obama of color with a Muslim origin, having been brought up in the Madras, they call them. They take it from the Hebrew word, the Arabs, midrash, madrasas in, yeah. That's where he got his initial anti-Semitism, Obama. You don't hear a word out of them, do you, about the anti-Semitism? Not a word, nothing. How come, dear viewers? You ought to confront them and ask them. Absolutely. Oh, and then of course you have another member of the House is Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut. Adam Schiff, another elected official. These are all just Jinos. J is Jewish, I is in, N is name, and O is owning. They're Jewish in name only. You don't hear an iota from there, of them, from them, by them, about the swirling anti-Semitism in the United States, let alone of that of Europe and the Middle East. You don't hear a word. Oh, there are others too. You had a member of the House, his name is Cohen. Yeah. He was going to make a political point. So this short, fat, obese, very ugly looking individual, he was stuffing his mouth with non-kosher Kentucky chicken, fried chicken. It was a political message to the Republicans, you understand. Nothing Jewish about them. There are more of them. I'm not listing all the Jewish congressmen and the senators, Jewish senators. God forbid if we were all living now in Nazi German occupied Europe, all these would be Judenrats. They would all be collaborating with the Nazis. Oh, you also have also one of these Jinos, Jewish in name only, Ted Deutsch of Democrat of Florida. You got Brad Schneider. Of another state. Oh, of Illinois. There's some others as well. Dear viewers, we will not tolerate anti-Semitism from a majority of 330 million Americans. The majority of them are white Caucasian. If we will not tolerate it from a majority of them who are white Caucasian crackers, we're certainly not going to tolerate it from a minority of non-whites and their various shades of color. Never again, never again will there be a Holocaust. We're going to stand up to them. We're going to divulge their names. And we're going to boycott them. Dear viewers, never again, never again, never again let there be a Holocaust on the anti-Semitic peoples of the world. And yes, dear viewers, Israel has nuclear power. It has ballistic missiles. There is not going to be a Holocaust again. The Jewish state is going to make sure of it. Let us pray for peace, Psalm 29 rather. Psalm 29. Hashem Ozlamo Yitain, God will give us people strength. Hashem Yorech Amao Shalom. God will bless his people with peace, with the coming of the Mashiach, the real Jewish Messiah, who has not yet appeared and who shall come, whom we await daily. The peace that the world envisions for the Jewish peoples and the Jewish state is spelled P-I-E-C-E. Peace. Pieces of Jewish body parts flying in the air from bombs, suicide bombers, projectiles coming from Gaza and from Lebanon, balloons with explosives that are being floating into Israel now from Gaza. Let it happen to the anti-Semitic nations of the world. Jews are additionally being murdered by stabbings, axings, shootings, being run over by motor vehicle cars, vehicular homicide intentionally. Let that happen to the nation states of the world who are anti-Semitic. Let there be Tchias HaMesim, the revivification, the coming back to life of all worthy Jews. Since the time of Abraham, the founding father of Judaism, nearly 4,000 years ago. Let us say in unison, Amen, 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 Ken Yehi Ratzon B'Korev Mamish. And so shall it be.